Hey, what's up guys? It's Art Book Addiction here, and we're here with a new artist journey video. So in this video, we're talking about art school, okay? Specifically, art college, okay? Should you go, right? Should you not go, right? How important is a formal education in art, in the artist industry, right? Um, it's an expensive thing. You know what I mean? Art school is very, very expensive, right? But the education, depending on the school, can be very, vital to you being a professional, right? So there's a lot of things to weigh when considering going to art school. Um, so that's what we'll be talking about today. But before we start the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Prince and Patreon if you want to support the channel. Consider becoming a channel member. With that, let's get into it. All right, the big question, all right, should you go to art school? This is a big question, okay? And, my question to you would be, how serious are you, okay? How serious are you about becoming an artist, okay? Becoming a professional, becoming someone who is paid for their work and is, like wants to be part of some kind of like artist industry, okay? And like how good do you want to be, right? How much ambition do you have, okay? Because these things factor a lot into like your ability to even just get past art school, because art school is extremely difficult, okay? A lot of people think that going to an art school is going to be like easy street, okay? And anybody who has been actually in art school understands that it's a lot of work, okay? A lot of grinding, a lot of hours spent, a lot of especially in the early years, sleepless nights, right? And it's fun. It's fun because you're doing the thing that you want to do. You're learning a lot of different ways to, approach a medium, right? And you're really building your skills in the school, okay? It's like, but the thing is, you get how much you put in, okay? Right? So if you put yourself into the school, right? Or if you put yourself into your education, right? You're gonna get a lot out of it, right? In my experience, right? Okay, so for just for context, I went to Academy of Art University in San Francisco, right? That's where I studied visual development, right, which is basically concept art. Obviously I'm doing different stuff now, but that's that's part of a different backstory, right? But I went through that program, and I met a lot of really, really great teachers, okay? Fantastic teachers. That's the one thing AAU really excels at. It's like they hired the right people, okay? And there are teachers who are, they're they're industry professionals. They've worked in the thing, right? And they some teachers could be better at teaching, some people could be at worse, right? But I would say that no matter what, the teacher, each teacher has something that you could learn from, okay? Right? By you actively participating in the learning, okay? You get what I'm saying, right? If you really are serious, if you really if you ask a lot of questions, if you're inquisitive, if you really want to be educated, right? Then I would totally recommend art school for you, okay? If these things all line up, if this is you, right, then you can go, because then you'll get the most out of it, right? If you're gonna be spending time going to workshops, taking it very seriously, right, and building your own work, right, then I would say go for it, man. Do it, okay? I can trust you with following through on that, right? Again, there is also the financial aspect, right? There's a lot of resources today, right, that you could learn from, that and people can There's things like schoolism, stuff like that, right? There's like a lot of art programs, right? But um, those are good. Okay, those are good. And if you're, if you apply it well enough, I think you can get into the industry, right? Quite frankly, it will not compare to someone who has actually gone through like the art school experience. Okay, right? Because like learning online is very limited. Okay, learning online, like you draw something and then you have like a Skype call with somebody, right? There's only so much you can really learn from that, right? There is something to being in a room, right? And there's a teacher there and there's a model there, right? And like let's say you're doing like figure drawing and and like they could see you actively creating something, and then they come and they'll be like oh, you should change this, or like, oh, try this, right? There's something about having a hands-on experience with a teacher in front of a subject matter that really allows you to learn intuitively, right? And to get deeper into your knowledge, okay, right? And quite frankly, art school is going to push you harder than any other thing, right? You know what I mean? They're going to push you to your limits because, like, for example, right? Like maybe you have like 3 studio classes, right? And each class has like a good amount of like a lot of work that has to be done, right? And you're gonna have to try to manage all that stuff, right? And trying to manage the projects and finish on time and do a good job, right? That is gonna be a lot of work. Okay, it's gonna like that amount of work changes you. Okay, it hardens you. It tempers the steel that is within you, within your artistic soul, and you'll finally really understand what it means to work hard to be an artist, right? And that actually it requires a lot more work than anybody else can even realize, right? So what does that mean? Again, the workload, I can't emphasize this enough. It's huge. Okay, regular college, okay, is nothing compared to art school. Okay, right? I don't know if other schools do this, right? But like just for example, just to put it into perspective, right? In most colleges, class lasts like an hour, to an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours most, right? In my school, I don't know if this is, like I said, I don't know if this is all in regular art school, right? Every class is 3 hours, right? That's for the short class. The long class, right, when you're doing like studio, when you're hands-on, doing drawing stuff, is a 6-hour class, right? Why? Because it needs to be that long for you to be able to draw and take the time to like, do the model and everything, right? Because at the end of the day, art just takes a long time, right? So you take those long hours and then you compound that with homework, right? And a project that you have like, however long to do, right? And it's very stressful. Okay, right? Like I was a very good student. Okay, I was like, I'm the person that I was describing earlier, right? And yet, it was difficult for me for the first 2 years, right? There were points where I'm like, I don't know if I could do this, right? But that's part of the experience, right? Being broken down, being shown like, like what are you really made of? Do you have the determination to push through, right? Do you have the skills and the ability and the intelligence to manage your time correctly and still put out something good, right? And it's a challenge, man. It's a real challenge. You know what I mean? And like not only are you balancing that, but you have to balance like your social relationships, should I go here? Should I talk to this person? You know what I mean? Should I be hanging out with my friends or should I be working? You know what I mean? And that's another aspect to it, right? So there's like a lot of things to consider, right? And like if you can't handle that, right? Or if you don't have the guts to think that you can handle that, right? then you shouldn't go to art school. Okay, you just shouldn't. Art, like, art can remain a hobby for you guys, right? Art school is only for the truly serious, okay? Right? How much are you willing to invest into yourself, right? Not just monetarily, but effort wise, okay? Right? I've seen a lot of people who were unprepared go to art school, right? And they, those people get blasted out within the first 2 years, okay? That's just the way it is, okay? Like, my school was like like they said 4 year, right? It's actually a 5 year program, okay? In reality, it's a 5 year program because you'd have to do like intersessions and summers. I did summers, right, to actually get through the entire thing. You know what I mean? In 4 years, it's like impossible, right? If you want to be sane and like be able to like actually do your work correctly and time yourself correctly, it's gonna take 5 years, right? I don't know if this is the case with all schools, but in my case, it was. Okay, so again, the teachers are gonna be your best resource. Okay, that's like it is a well of knowledge. So if you're going to art school, ask questions, dude. Engage with the teacher, okay? Right? Even if the other students don't like it, okay? This is about your education. You have to engage with the teacher, right? Maybe there's teachers that you don't like, right? And that's fine. That's just the way it is. But you try your best to get along with them, right? Sometimes you just don't, and that's just the way it is, right? But the teachers that are good and you should try at the very least to engage with every teacher, right? And to absorb as much as you can, okay? Right? So, okay, so there's the art school route, okay? Let's go with the, online education route, right? Like schoolism, stuff like that, right? Let's say you're learning online, okay? So, I have to say, as, someone who has studied and has an academic background in art, the online tutorials that you see on YouTube, they're very limited in how helpful they are, okay? Right? They can be very useful, okay? But quite frankly, I feel like at an intermediate level, the education stops. Okay, you're only gonna go so far with the with that art education, right? But you still can, you could kind of supplement with like books from the right people, right? Art books from the right people, but it's gonna be very, very difficult. But what I emphasize to you, if you're gonna go the other route, right? I recommend to you learning about process, okay? Learning the correct process, all right? Okay, what's the process? Okay, it's sketch, refine line, okay? You do your shadows, right? Then you do your lights, okay? Then you do final render, okay? Right? Doing those steps, right? Like following the order of operations, right? And learning to draw that way, I think, is like something that is vital to the artist, right? And like I don't take anyone seriously unless I see this process from someone, right? I see a lot of self-taught artists who they draw and maybe like they render from top to bottom, you know what I mean? They draw like the perfect thing from top, and like that's no way to draw. It's too slow, right? And it's inaccurate, right? And if you get one thing wrong, you've already rendered everything, and it's gonna look like a rendered turd, right? I see a lot of people who are like oh whoa dude, I'm super realistic artists, and it's like listen dude, hyper realism, that's done in like the first 2 years of art school, okay? Hyper realism is not hard to achieve, okay? It just takes a lot of time, right? And like people do these hyper realistic portraits. I'm not very impressed, you know what I mean? This is something, like I said, the first 2 year students can do, and like quite frankly, once you're in, you understand that that's not very impressive, right? What's impressive is finding your own voice, right? um, Being able to draw and put your own interpretation into it, okay, right? And like you know what I mean? It's like showing yourself, right, instead of just, you know, spending a lot of time copying something, you know what I mean? So I'm getting off track. um, but that's something that you will learn through art school, right? You will learn like what is actually valuable to you as an artist, right? And that, you know, a lot of people, they'll be self-taught, and like they're like, oh dude, I'm self-taught, blah, 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 you know, I'm like, oh, I'm an artist. And like the thing is, like what's really sad when I see those kinds of artists is they don't know how good or bad they are. They have no context for their skill level, right? And that can be very damning, right? You don't want to be an artist where you know where you know that you're not that good, okay, or that you don't even have the potential to be that good, right? And that's the thing where art school could come in, right? It could raise your potential or show you things that you weren't expecting, because it's throwing a lot of stuff at you, right? Challenging you to draw different things, you know, like putting, you know, draw this amount of things, right? And like these will accelerate your hours of time, right? So that's another thing, right? You know, the people, you know, the rule is 10,000 hours. I don't believe that, right? It's, you know, 10,000 hours is quite frankly not long enough, right? But, you know, going off the 10,000 hour rule, right? So if you're in art school, you know, and you're drawing like, you know, this many hours a day, right? You are blowing past those hours, right? 1 year of art school can probably net you like couple, like, you know, like maybe like couple hundred to 1,000 hours of working, right? Maybe more. I don't know. I don't really know the calculations. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is like, when it comes down to it, if you really want to become good and you want to become good fast, right? Art school is the way, okay? Because let's be honest, dude. Let's be honest. If you're working on the side, right? If you're doing art on the side, right? Of course, talent is a factor in this, right? But talent can only do so much, as opposed to like actually just doing the work, right? But like, if you're going to art school, you're spending all day doing art, okay, right? Or like a majority of the day doing art, right? If you're doing not art school, then you're doing a bunch of other stuff, and then you do like maybe spend like an hour to like, you know, a couple hours to work on your own, right? And the quality of that practice is not as good as art school, okay, right? So like, you know, like you're working for a couple hours, but you're doing it unsupervised. There isn't an academic format to it, right? There is no teacher to help you, right? There is no model, right? There is no point of guidance. So you're kind of guiding yourself, right? And you don't really understand like how good the work is versus it's not, right? Because there's no teacher to tell you, and there's no classmates to compare to, right? And those things do make a difference. Those things do, you know, factor in, right? And what I've seen from self-taught artists, right, is that they will draw one way. They found a way that is successful for them, right, in some manner, like a style or whatever, right? And they will stick to that, and they will never grow, okay? That's very important you to understand, okay? That's, to me, that's like the number one. And, you know, there are academic artists who also don't grow, okay, right? But quite frankly, you know, those educated artists are just like on a way higher skill level, and like their growth may be more subtle now, right? But the self-taught artist is stuck, dude. Okay, is like there's a height they just can't get past because they've looked at everything. They've looked at all the educational information, right? But they just haven't been pushed in the right ways to get a full, like, like look at what their weaknesses are, what direction they should head in. You know what I mean? And this is a lot of self-analysis too, right? Along, like the school isn't going to analyze you, right? You're going to need to do that. You know what I mean? But the school will push you in many different directions, trying different mediums, right? And you might find stuff that you didn't know that you were good at, but now, like, it could be your main thing, right? That's another, like, beautiful aspect of going to an art school, right? So it's a lot to consider, right? But again, and the money, okay, right? Quite frankly, if you don't have the money, then you can't do it. This is a thing where you need to have the right resources to go to art school, right? Some people, they might have, like, military to be able to go in for free, or like they might, you might have a family that is willing to pay, right? Maybe if you want to try to do art school and work at the same time, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not possible, dude. That's just not gonna happen. Okay, right? And not like I mean, you can do it. It is possible, but quite frankly, if you're doing it, your education is severely diminished. Okay, most of the people who I know that worked and did school were always extremely overwhelmed. Okay, like the entire time, they're extremely overwhelmed, and their output is, quite frankly, not that good because they don't have the time to put in. Okay, not necessarily they're a bad artist or anything, right? But if you're going to school full time, right, know that you're not going to be able to work, dude. You don't have the time to work, okay? Because you're going to be working on your projects, okay? If you're doing it correctly, right? Sorry. But, all these things factor in, you know what I mean? Like, that, like, can you handle the pressure? Can you handle it? Are you willing to fight for your art, right? How hard are you willing to fight? How strong is your conviction, right? I've met people who don't have this attitude and they go to art school, and quite frankly, they don't perform, okay? Or they're not that good, or like they'll leave, and like their education, like, they're not going to pursue it any further, and like art to them is now traumatizing, like, oh, I had to work so hard, and like, to them I say, like, you're a coward, you know what I mean, right? But or it depends on the situation, you know what I mean? Some people, but like, if they put away art completely, right, and just give up, then like I find that, like, I say cowardice, you know what I mean, right? Unless they have like a family then they need to feed, and like they, like, what I mean, they had no other choice, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? But all I really gotta say is, if you're serious about art, like dead serious, like, you know what I mean, like to the core of your being, right, and you want to get better, and you want to be a professional, right, and you want to be taken seriously in the art world, then an education is mandatory. Okay, guys, an education is mandatory, right? I'm not saying that you have to do it, right? There are other ways, right? But they're not compared to an education, okay? Right? Self-taught, it's like this. Education, it's like up here, okay? You break limits just by going to school, okay? Like, whatever limitations you have, like they will hold you back, okay? Art school is there to break those limitations, okay? Right? And it's not easy. It's extremely difficult. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, okay? But if you have the mettle, if you have the strength, if you have the passion and the conviction to see it through, then you will get the skills that you require, and you will get what you paid for, okay? Even if others don't, and others complain about it, okay? Most of the people who complain about art school are those who are, quite frankly, weak, okay, in their conviction, okay? They're like, oh my god, it was so, and I quit, and then they start a YouTube channel, right? You know, and they complain about art school and this and that, right? To those people, I say, like, you're weak. You're one of those people who didn't pay attention to class. You didn't pay attention to the teacher. You didn't put your best foot forward. You didn't try your hardest, dude. Okay, right? And you weren't down to eat the shit, okay? To get through it, okay, and become who you're supposed to be, right? They are the swords that were being forged and broke, okay? But if you have the real steel, you have the real ore, the real metal inside of you to see it through, then I easily recommend art school, okay? And if you go down that route, good fucking luck, guys. Good luck, dude, okay? I hope you make it, right? And I hope you have the conviction to see it through and to, again, ask questions, participate, get in there, get deep in there, okay? Work hard, right? And you will get what you paid for, okay? And then some, all right? For those of you who are doing self-study, right? I wish you the best of luck, man, right? Again, it costs a lot of money, right? The chances of you being a professional are a lot lower, right? But it is possible. I'm not gonna say it's not possible because there are people who have, right? Okay. You know, you're saving a lot of money, but you're limiting yourself, okay? But that's okay, you know. So sometimes people don't need that crazy level, okay? So, you know, whether you go to art school or you're doing self-taught, okay, I wish good luck to you guys. You know, this is an artist journey. You're not alone. It's a hard journey, right? And, you know, I wish the best of luck to you guys, okay? And that's it. I think we could end the video here, guys. Please, if you enjoyed that video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Check out my Prince of Patreon. If you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. Ring that bell for notification, all that bullshit. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.